Pakistan's latest economic survey says the economy is doing better than last year. GDP growth is estimated at 3.7%. Inflation is much lower than the crisis years. The fiscal deficit has shrunk. Remittances are strong. The stock market has performed well, and foreign exchange reserves have improved. So, on paper, Pakistan looks more stable. So, here's the important part: stability is not the same as strength. Think of the economy like a patient who has left the emergency room. The fever is down, the breathing is steady, but the patient is still weak, and recovery will take time. Let's break it down. First, growth. Pakistan's economy grew by 3.7%, helped by agriculture, industry, and services. Agriculture grew despite the 2025 floods. Manufacturing also recovered, especially large scale manufacturing, which includes sectors like textiles, food, automobiles, and petroleum products. That is good news because factories running again usually means more production, more jobs, and more movement in the economy. But the bigger question is Pakistan investing enough to grow faster? The answer is not really. Investment is still only about 14.4% of the GDP. That is low for a country that needs more factories, exports, infrastructure, and jobs for a growing population. Second, prices. Inflation averaged 6.2% between July and April, which is far below the painful inflation Pakistan saw in recent years. But inflation rose again in April, mainly because of high oil prices and supply disruptions linked to the Middle East crisis. That means prices are calmer, but still vulnerable to global shocks. Third, the government's finances. This is one of the strongest parts of the survey. The fiscal deficit narrowed sharply to 0.7% of GDP during July-March. The government also recorded a strong primary surplus. In simple terms, the gap between what the government spent and what it earned became much smaller, helped by higher revenues and lower interest payments. But there is a catch. Pakistan's total public debt is still massive, at more than 83 billion rupees. So even when the deficit improves, debt remains one of the biggest long-term burdens on the economy. Fourth, the external account. Pakistan recorded a small current account surplus of $72 million during July-March. Remittances helped a lot, rising to more than $30 billion. But exports were under pressure, while imports rose as the economy recovered. This is Pakistan's old problem. When growth picks up, imports rise quickly, but exports often do not keep pace. That puts pressure on dollars. Fifth, jobs and poverty. This is where the recovery story becomes more complicated. The survey says unemployment rose to 7.1%. Poverty also increased to 28.9% in 2024-25. So even if macroeconomic numbers are improving, many households may not feel a recovery in their daily lives. Sixth, climate. The survey's climate section is a warning. The 2025 floods caused 822 billion rupees in damages, killed more than 1,000 people and displaced over 4 million people. This means climate change is no longer just an environmental story for Pakistan. It is an economic story. Floods, heat waves, and crop losses can directly hit growth, inflation, jobs, and government spending. So yes, Pakistan's economy looks more stable than it did a year ago. But stability only tells us that the fall has been stopped. It does not tell us whether people are earning more, whether factories are investing more, whether exports are becoming stronger, or whether the country is better prepared for the next flood, oil shock, or death payment. That is the gap the survey leaves us with. Pakistan may have moved away from the edge of crisis, but it has not yet built the economy that can keep it from returning there.